Hey, this is Brent Leary, and I guess this is the very first conversation I'm having in 2020, one of these LinkedIn Live conversations. And so, first of all, Happy New Year. I hope everybody is doing okay, had a great holiday season, and is off to a really cool 2020 start. I can say I'm off to a cool 2020 start because I'm sitting here talking with Sangram Vajre, and it's always cool to talk with Sangram. So, hey, man, thanks for joining me.
Brent, so good, man. I'm so glad we were going back and forth. And like, hey, we haven't really done it, and I see you popping with some incredible people. So I'm having fun just being here. And Happy New Year to you as well.
Man, I'm looking at the Patagonia shirt you got on, and I actually have the exact same one, but it was branded with Financial Force because they're the ones that like gave it to me. But it is the exact same one. I love that thing, man. That's good stuff.
It love. That reminds me of this idea. I was talking to somebody before. It's a guy named Jeff Henderson who wrote a book called FOR. And I had him on the Flip My Phone podcast, like literally on Monday. And he said something. He's like, look at Patagonia as an example. Companies that are doing something great or people follow, they actually either stand for something or against something. They're not lukewarm companies. They're not like, hey, we got the best service. Like, and then yeah, like nobody cares if you got the best. If we got the best product, nobody cares you got the best product. We got the best customers. What do you think? People have shitty customers? No, people have great customers. It's not like, what do you stand for? And like Patagonia stood for environmental friendly way of actually creating clothing, and they stood for something. Tom Shoes stood for something. We stood for like going against leads and going against, for accounts. And so we stood. So I think when you stand for something, that's when conversations happen.
Well, I know you stand for ABM. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. Terminus is all about ABM. You have written a couple of books on the subject of ABM. You got a Flip My Funnel a podcast that's kind of focused on this stuff. So you're all about it. Now, with all that being said, there may be some folks out there who don't know what ABM is. So I think I can ask this of you. What's ABM?
Well, that is, it's like giving away the title of my last book or the second book, which is this, ABM is B2B. And so long story short, if people don't know what ABM, which stands for account-based marketing, if you are in B2B and if you are still waiting for somebody to find you, hopefully on Google or hopefully somewhere when they put the right terms in the search box, you are like losing money. You're like a leaky bucket right now. You're wasting time and all that stuff. If you are in B2B, you should know. And if you don't know, you need to spend time to figure out what is your total addressable market, your TAM look like. At least come up with those top 50 companies that you can serve the best. And now when you have the list of 50 companies, and if you ask your sales team, they will tell you because they have pipeline for it. But if you come up with those 50 accounts, and you then start creating marketing channels, like putting advertising in front of them wherever they go, or doing direct mail for them, or doing engagement or writing content about those companies, or reaching out to them in a way where they understand that you understand their problem, their challenges, and the concerns, then you actually close more of those 50 accounts because you're not creating content for everybody. And that's what account-based marketing is. It's a way to do better marketing and sales, but only for the companies that you can serve the best.
You've been at this for a while. I mean, this is a subject that did it come out around 4 or 5 years ago when the focus really started moving towards that?
Yeah, I think it was in the late 90s or early 2000 when I think ITSMA coined the phrase of account-based marketing in one of their articles. So credit where credit is due. But really, as you know, it's been really 5 years since it really started creating root. And that's why I wrote the first book, which was called just Account-Based Marketing in 2015, 2016, where we're just trying to understand what this is. But man, in the 5 years, so much has changed. So much has changed.
All right. So what are the big changes? What are the most impactful changes that you've seen in 5 years when it comes to this stuff?
So when we wrote the first book, we thought, especially, and I thought, I just put it on me because it was a limited view of work. I just a better mousetrap. As I just shared, if you know the 50 accounts, go after those 50 accounts. Why create content for everybody? Create content for, if you're going after manufacturing companies, guess what? Create manufacturing content change your ebook to talk about manufacturing, create a landing page for manufacturing, and take those 50 companies that you're going after to that landing page that is all about manufacturing. You will convert better. It just seems so obvious. And I was all about acquisition. That's where I was spending majority of my time, my talk, everything. And in the last 4 years, what I've seen is this big shift towards pipeline velocity and expansion campaigns. So what I mean by that is, if you have opportunities sitting in your pipeline today, they're probably the best accounts that you should be doing account-based marketing with, because they have raised their hand and they say they're going to buy from you or your competitor. So they're already in the market, they're ready to buy. The acquisition, you don't know if those people are going to be ready to buy. They're great targets, but you don't know if they have the budget, authority, the time, all those things. But if they're in your pipeline, the salesperson has qualified them, they're going to buy from you or your competitor. So it's time for you to really double in, especially the marketing team, to give them air cover and direct mail advertising, all those kind of things. So I felt like the shift has moved for marketers to not only focus on acquisition, but pipeline velocity. But even bigger, and I wrote about 6 stories of companies that we interviewed. One of the companies we interviewed, Brent, was Thomson Reuters, which we know is a big company. I even got the legal team to approve this. They worked on expansion campaign. They only focused on 250 accounts for expansion, which means if you're a company that has more than one product, you're trying to upsell and cross-sell other products to the existing customer base. They started doing that using the account-based marketing principles, and their win rate was 95%. 95. And I kid you not, for a company like Thomson Reuters, like 95% win rate. So we had the legal team to approve it before we put it in the book, because nobody's going to believe me if I just write it. I need you to approve. So they approved it. And that just shows the power of it. So to me, the biggest change or shift has happened is it's not just acquisition and getting better deals in the pie. It's really, how do I accelerate my deals in the pipeline? And also, if you have more than one products, how do I sell more of mine to the same customers I've already trusted? Which is why the title of the second book I said is like, it's just B2B. It's just better marketing and sales across the customer journey.
Well, so ABM is B2B. That's basically all right.
Yeah, I even put a period at the end because I didn't want anybody to miss it. No, this is it. I wish I could be more profound, but no, it is it.
So what's been the biggest challenge to folks in understanding where ABM fits into kind of the traditional landscape of some of the other acronyms? One of the main acronyms I'm thinking of is CRM. So there's SFA, there's marketing automation, there's customer service, there's all sorts of things that have been traditionally CRM or CRM-ish. So where does ABM fit into that landscape?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brent. And primarily because I think everything I ran marketing at Pardot before I was with Salesforce. I was embedded in all of this thing. So I hear that. And I was part of the marketing automation flow. I was the one who was going out there and talking about marketing automation 10 years ago and saying, this is the greatest thing. And what is the biggest realization for me why ABM is even bigger than any of these things and why it has caught so much attention in the last 5 years is because you look at email marketing, you look at marketing automation, you look at CRM, you look at predictive. These are all technologies that are supposed to help you do better. ABM is a strategy. Nobody, even Terminus, we can never say we got everything covered under the sun for ABM. We would never be able to say that because ABM is a strategy. It's like, all right, if your customers are in Boston right now that you need to go after, do a dinner for them over there. That is an ABM strategy as opposed to creating content which they would never see. If your folks are not online digital and they are direct mail oriented folks, send them the direct mail. If you're going after hospitals and stuff like that, that is ABM. So ABM is a strategy, depends on which type of segment you're going after. So I think one of the biggest challenges that people face is that I don't know where to start. I don't have a button to click. I need that. And people have been conditioned to like show me everything. And in this case, if anybody's doing ABM, if you ask people who have been doing it for a couple of years, real ABM like Snowflakes of the world or Thomson Reuters or Sixter or some of these companies, they will all tell you that they had to go and get in a room with marketing and sales sitting together, literally go through a flow and saying, here's what we're going to do, folks, and here's how we're going to go after this customer, not any customer, this customer, and that's how you win.
Okay, so one of the things that I don't care what part of the business you talk about, AI has become a really, it's pretty much a big ubiquitous. Where does AI fit in, and how does it impact what ABM does?
Oh, it totally does, especially when you're trying to figure out the intent of these companies, right? So there's all these elements that you need to know. It's like, all right, I can serve this type of customer better. So help me find more of a similar set of customers. I think you can use a lot of AI and predictive and intent kind of information in there. Then I think on the back end, AI, for example, is a lot of it is like, well, how do I figure out what actually worked? And that's where we acquired a company called Bright Funnel 2 years ago, specifically to do that, to answer the question. A lot of our customers would say, this is awesome. Your Terminus is able to help us get in front of people immediately because of our digital advertising platform. But I don't know what works. I don't know which elements actually work. So we kind of acquired Bright Funnel to help address some of that problem, not all of it, but some of that. Here is your ABM dashboard. Here's what happened with the top 10 accounts. Not everything, but just those accounts that matter to you. And what's interesting about that, Brent, is that you go and talk to any salesperson today. It's the beginning of the quarter right now. People are like, back in the office, and I can see the energy everywhere. They know exactly the 10 accounts they need to close this month to finish the quarter or the month strong. And if a marketer, instead of creating their own campaign framework, goes and asks, hey, Joe and Sally, tell me which accounts do you want to close this month? Tell me what, and they will tell you those accounts because they know that. They will say, okay, let me figure out what I can do from all the things I have in marketing. What can I do to give you air cover for those 10 accounts? You'll be best friends with your sales team. You'll make them so happy, and they will win deals, which gives you promotion.
Man, this is good stuff. Sounds good to me. Well, one of the other things around this is you mentioned kind of sales, and how does ABM and this strategy and this methodology, how does this change or enhance the relationship that marketing has with sales folks?
Oh man, I think one of the greatest. So one of the things I wrote, literally, I'll show you because it's kind of funny. I wrote like 7 different truths for marketing and sales, and one of the first truth I put in there was this truth number 1, and I put a screenshot of LinkedIn in that. What I wrote, like, truth number 1 is that the value of marketing is defined by sales.
Right.
Period.
Yeah. Another period.
Another period is like it took me 10 years of therapy to realize that. So hopefully people can avoid that much cost and pain that comes with it. But if you are in B2B, your job as a marketer is to either incrementally or exponentially grow sales. I don't care what form you do that, maybe through events, through branding or whatever. But if your sales numbers are not going up and to the right, you're going to be fired.
Right.
And that is the realization I had, and I hope most marketers have. So ABM is nothing but, for example, this is the funniest thing. What is the title of the salespeople in most B2B companies?
Sales rep.
Or account executive.
Account exec, right.
So they get the account-based marketing. It's in their title. Marketers have been giving them leads. So you can see the disconnect there. So now when a marketer goes, say, hey, tell me which accounts they know exactly which accounts to go after, and they can give them now leads in those accounts. They'll be all over it. Right. So I think account-based marketing, I've never seen a single company. I've talked to thousands of companies in the last 5 years, helping them or just talking through them this whole process. I've seen not a single company successful, not a single, without sales and marketing working as one team, not a single. So I feel like if people want to think about account-based marketing or even get promoted and keep their job, you have to work with sales, and you have to understand you exist to drive their business forward.
All right. So you're very active on social channels, and in particular, what you're doing here at LinkedIn. I mean, I know you do some LinkedIn Live stuff, but just, I guess it was last month you started. I mean, most people in December, they're starting to think about what to buy for Christmas, where to go, that kind of stuff. And you started now this sounds kind of old school, but it's really not. But you started a daily newsletter that's actually kind of a new thing that LinkedIn is doing. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for subscribing to it too. So I started to love writing. And over the last years, I never thought I would write books. Like I want to just start a company. I want to just do marketing, and ended up doing all these things. God has been really good to me. And what I've learned and what I've hated the most was like when I asked people, where are you getting your leadership content? We went from 3 co-founders to about 250 people in the last 4 years or 5 years. So there's a lot of growth, and I would be hungry for that type of content all the time. And most people would tell, well, we get it from HBR sometimes, but you have to subscribe to it, or we get it from some people who they follow, but then they're talking about only that one topic. And I'm like, no, just general leadership, good content. And I just couldn't find a good place to do it. So I'm like, I'm just going to create my own. And I didn't want it to be about Sangram. I wanted it to be truly a real problem, a real solution, a real conversation. So I created these fictitious characters, Joey, who is a mentor, and Sally, who's an upcoming leader. And they meet up at a coffee shop every morning before they go to work. And it's a conversation between two of them. Sometimes Sally's like, look, I'm going to do a presentation. I don't know what to do. And he tells her or refers her to a book, or, any good friend, any good mentor would do. Or sometimes Joey has a problem. He's thinking, I don't know how to connect with millennials. And she's like, let me tell you about that, right? So the conversation between two people that happens truly in everyday life. But instead of this boring statistical way of saying 87% people said, do this, it's just conversation. So I started a newsletter called Becoming Intentional. So if you go to my feed, you will see it. And when you subscribe to it, that's the most interesting part. In the last 1 month, it's been over 5,000 people who have subscribed to it.
Yeah.
It will come to you as an email. So you're right. It's an old school coming back, and I'm writing a 1-minute newsletter called Becoming Intentional.
What's really cool about that is it seems to be taking full advantage of what LinkedIn provides. And when I started doing videos, I would I would post them if you do Facebook Live, or I post them over YouTube. Yeah, and I get a certain amount of play. But when I started posting stuff on LinkedIn, which has that built-in audience of business people gravitated towards it. And it sounds like, you're leveraging LinkedIn, the power of LinkedIn through this old school thing of newsletters. And I mean, I don't know pretty much anywhere where somebody could start a newsletter and get 5,000 subscribers, 5,500 subscribers kind of organically. But it seems like, as a marketer, it seems like marketing and LinkedIn are really starting to hit their stride. Are you finding that as well? Or isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the other thing I'm learning about this is that, so I'm not on Snapchat, I'm not on Instagram, I'm hardly on Twitter, I'm not on Facebook. I just have, from the last couple of years, I've just spent every day I would just write something or share something and move on with my day on LinkedIn. And what has happened is, like, when you focus on one thing, you can actually get better and better at it. And it's interesting that this has given me more access, more speaking, more voice, more information, and able to get in front of more people than anything else I've ever done through any amount of money that I've ever paid. So this is all organic, to say, I think. So to your point, I think LinkedIn has truly become a place for where professionals can have really great learning experiences with each other. Now, I think the difference that I'm hoping to bring to the platform is the voice, the tone, as opposed to being like, here's what Sangram says, or here's #Sangram. Like, no, I want this to be like, Joey and Sally, regular two folks who are trying to be the best they can, and they want to lead professionally, they want to grow personally, they want to live life fully. I want to create something, and they want to be intentional about their life. And hopefully through that, I can bring tons of experiences and conversations from outside world and share that through their voice. So we'll see where that goes.
Well, it seems like LinkedIn and ABM, maybe these things are coming along at the same time to help B2B focused sales and marketing folks take advantage of, something maybe 2 or 3 years ago it wouldn't even have been a thought, but now it seems like this methodology and this platform are beginning to kind of feed off of each other and help connect in a way that you couldn't have done it a couple of years ago.
You can't. I can't even imagine. And I still get people saying, oh, wow, this is awesome. You have so many followers and stuff. I don't even know where to start. I'm like, ask a question. Do you have questions? Because I do. Just ask a question. I think LinkedIn is an incredible community of people. I mean, hats off to everybody on LinkedIn. I feel like people are openly sharing, openly giving, openly. I think it's a really interesting way that I've not seen on any other platform in a long time. So if somebody's struggling right now, like, I don't even know, I just watch Brent doing amazing things, and I'm like, yeah, you don't have to start there. You can just start by asking a question or sharing an experience. And if you do it consistently enough, you'll learn about yourself, you will connect with the right kind of people, and you'll enjoy the process.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn has a chance to be like the Netflix of business content, and
yeah, that's a good way
we'll
to put
see.
it.
They got some things they need to do to really see that happen, but they have a potential for doing that. But anyway, this has been really good, man. And you got to do a little plug on where people can, you talked about the newsletter, but where else can people connect with you and get some of the content and also learn more about, Terminus, because we barely even talked about Terminus.
I mean, I never talk about it. It's the funniest thing. And then people like, my sales be like, why don't you promote Terminus? I'm like, hey, look, I do a good job of helping people grow. They will find where we are. Like, we got 249 people selling. So like, of course you can look at Terminus at terminus.com. It's a lot of fun what we do. I'll say, if you're in a market to figure out what platform to use to do ABM, go to G2 Crowd actually and look at the grid. Actually, it's a better way to understand. So don't take my word, look at G2 Crowd or something. If you want to connect with me, I post something, try to post every other day on LinkedIn, something that I learned. I've grown from like 3 co-founders to about 250 people. There's so many learnings in the last 5 years, and I continue to do. So find me on LinkedIn, and hopefully you get a chance to check out the Becoming Intentional newsletter. Something I'm just trying to have conversations in a much fun way than a dry way that people put out there.
Don't forget Flip My Funnel. I mean, come on, man.
Oh, yeah. And I do a podcast called Flip My Funnel, which is also community driven. Like, I literally do only Monday interviews. The Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are run by the community. So it's a fantastic place to connect and get to know a whole bunch of things on Flip My Funnel podcast.
I got to send a shout out to Deepak Rai. He says, thanks for doing what you do regularly. Sangram, Vajre, good to hear you. That's what he says.
Hey, thank you so much, Deepak. I appreciate that, man.
It's always good to hear from you. So I can second that, what Deepak said. So, hey, man, I really appreciate you taking some time out and talking about it. And where can people get the book? You get the title, give them a little show of the book again.
Yeah. His ABM is B2B. It's on Amazon. I think there are 90 plus reviews on the book. So hopefully it's good. It's done really, really well than my last book. So I feel good. And all the proceeds from the book go to one of my favorite charity called New Story, that are building houses, like 3D houses in places that people would not even imagine having a home. So I'm really excited about that. So anything that, if anybody buys it, likes it, reviews it, all proceed goes to New Story.
Man, that's awesome. That's really, I'm glad that we got that in there, because one of the things that for I've been looking at over the last year or so, particularly when it comes to vendors in the industry, and me and Paul Greenberg talk about this a lot on the CRM Player stuff. It's around doing good.
Yes.
As a part of the business strategy, and it's good to see, not only are you writing about things that are important from a business perspective, but you're tying it together for things that mean more than just business. So I think that's really cool, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, man. That's the least we could do, man. Otherwise, we're just talking heads trying to make money.
Hey, it's been a pleasure, and we definitely will be doing this sooner rather than later if you're up for it.
Let's do it, man. I love it, and thank you again for sharing about Becoming Intentional as well. It's a new project, so I'm excited to see where it goes.